Kumusta ka mo? Hi, it's Viktoria Vox. Have you ever deleted an Instagram post because it didn't get as many likes as you'd hope? Nick, 50 likes lang. Siguro hindi na may picture ko ay delete ko na lang gani. Breaking news. You are not alone. Fact. People fixate on the number of likes or their engagement score and associate that number to their worth. Kung mas nubo gani, they feel less valuable. Kung damo naman, they feel superior. Even Instagram noticed this and they rolled out an update where you can hide your like counts. But why does it matter? Because most of the time, we worry about what others think or feel about us. We constantly seek approval or validation from people that keep destroying our self-worth. What does it mean to seek approval or validation? When you are in constant search of validation, you often catch yourself saying, "What will they say about me? I wonder what they're thinking." Kita taman ka importante ang pananaw sa imo sang iban nga tawo, di bala? If what you feel just so happens to be the same as what other people feel about you, then great. But their opinions of you should not be a priority. Ang problema da kung hindi mo nakilala, lawas mo sa tamaan mo kapamati sang iban sa kung sino ka. With too much people-pleasing, you lose your sense of self and personal values. And when that happens, you're easily susceptible to peer pressure, people-pleasing, and shape-shifting. Maskin wala ka gainom, pero ti kay ginambalang ka sang katropa mo nga, ano man naman, weak. Then you suddenly drink after they told you that. Now that's peer pressure. When you give in to something you do not want to do just because your friends or people around you tell you to do it. Look, drinking is not evil, but it doesn't make you cool either. If they're really your friends, they're not going to force you to do things you're uncomfortable with. I've repeated this so many times in all my videos. People around you need to be comfortable with the word no. No means no. It's your body, it's your life, it's your choice. Kung may ara nga mga tao nga ga-give in sa peer pressure, may ara man nga mga tao nga people pleasers. Amo ni mga tao nga gusto either attention or validation. Kung ikaw ang duhalos, tanan nga uso ginasakyan, babakal branded, kag bag-o nga gamit, maskin wala kwarta pang bayad sa rent. O kung pagkaon na balahaw. People are different. Our preferences are different. Our lifestyles are different, and there's nothing wrong with that if you can stay true to what's true to you. But the key there is awareness. Where do you draw the line between trends and your personal values? And the last one is shape-shifting. As suggested by its name, may mga tao nga literal. Gabago ila pagkatawo kung may iban nga tao. Ba, may kilala, gid ko. Ang daw abi mo na bala nga tamaan ka loving, ka caring, ka religious, ka very empathetic kung tubang ang iban nga tao. Pero kung wala na gani ka na tubang, abi mo daw ginsapian. Ang daw grabe na bala mag-manipulate, mag-degrade, kag makatraumatize how. O kung hindi man ang kapamilya mo nga tamaan kahamot gid sa mga gay friends nila. Pero kung mabalaan gani, nga agi ka, dunaguho na mundo nila kag i-disown ka. Wow! Hypocrite match! They put on a mask, or rather change their whole being to adjust to the people's perception of them. It seems that what society thinks of them is much more important than what people close to them think of them. When you think about it, these moments feel so unusual because they happen so often that they tend to go unnoticed. And at one point, we've all fallen in the traps of validation, and that's okay, so long as we learn from it. So here are warning signs you might be seeking approval. So how would you know if you're manifesting approval-seeking behavior or validation-seeking? Here are 10 telling traits from liveyourstory.com. If you want to read the full article, click on the link on the description box down below. You can't say no. Ang tipo na balangan na ngayo pabor ang pamilya mo para mag-ubra tarpaulin design kay graphic artist ka. Okay lang gid balatani o galing. Basta yun kinlanlan. Ano ni? 12 hours turnover, tamaan ah. Sobra pa sila sa kliyente, bukod sa boss mo. Wala na sila gani, bayran. Igil trip ka pa. kagamay nga bagay, hindi mo maobra. O kon, ako nagpaskwila sa imo sang graphic design, tapos mo nga pabor, hindi mo maobra. If it were any other client, you'd say no. If it was your boss asking, you might even push back. Pero di kay pamilya mo ka kinahanglan, alila ka na naman eh. So ang ending, since you don't want to disappoint your family, you'll break a sweat, deprive yourself of sleep. Kung hindi mo gani kaya, hindi mo kaya. Maskin sino ang kapamangkot. Kung pamilya kagin Manila, respetuhon nila imo desisyon ah. You don't have to give in to anyone's requests just to feel loved and accepted. People who love you will love you without favors. Next one is a classic among Filipinos. Babay ilang ah. Hindi mo man sa mapag-u. Hipos ka na lang para wala gamo. Paskong Pasko, ginambalan ka sang tito mo nga la kapamiko. Tapos kinalan magkadlaw ka lang para wala gamo. Para kay sino ang peace nga na? Nga man do halos tanan peaceful out, puwera simo. Or take for example, education. When you love fine arts, but they make you take up nursing instead when you don't want to. You agree even if it's not your dream just to keep the peace. So, you wasted 4 years of studying a course you don't like and end up wasting the rest of your life suffering a profession you never chose? You know, unless you learn to love it, better wake up and stand up for yourself. Another sign that you may be leaning towards validation seeking is spreading gossip. Wow, shout out sa mga marites da nga permi chismis balo nila. But what do you think about it? Why do people keep passing on gossip? Whether it's something as mundane as two people breaking up or as controversial as seeing someone cheat on their partner, damo gyapon una sa balita because it makes them the bearer of news and the center of attention. I'll repeat it slowly so the marites at the back can hear. Center of attention. Another one is an only sorry individual. Nakasorry ka na sa lamesa. Ang tipo na wala nga masalapay mo lang gamay tapos reflex mo mag-sorry dayon. Warning sign ina nga posible nga may people-pleasing tendency ka. Saying sorry as a reflex means you're always careful with everything that's happening. Gamay lang nga salapay, gamay lang nga kibot. You take ownership of the fault right away. People do this often because they don't want to offend anyone, so they'd rather be at fault then stand up for themselves. Do you say sorry as a reflex? Or do you say sorry because you actually have something to apologize for? Know the difference. Aside from that sorry reflex, we tend to ask permission too often. Sa kultura sang Pinoy, nagdako ta nga gagalisin siya anay permi sa nanay, sa tatay, o kung sa magulang. And most often than not, asking permission seems to be so difficult to get rid of even when we're all grown up and we don't need to ask for permission. We get called out for being rude or disrespectful when we live as adults and stop asking permission, which is probably why approval-seeking behavior is so common among Filipinos. May ara patagani ang ginatawag na pamanhikan because even in marriage, we still have to ask permission. But as we grow older, we have to learn to unlearn unnecessary behavior like asking permission when the decision is yours to make and the merits and consequences are yours to deal with. No, you do not need to ask permission from your partner if you can wear a skirt or get a piercing or get a tattoo. It's your body. No, you do not need to ask anyone if you can party with your friends as an adult. No, you do not need to ask permission from anyone if you want to go on a date. Of course, granted, you're old enough. I don't mean 12-year-olds trying to date that. If you're an independent adult, you are entitled to making your own decisions without anyone else's permission. If you want to extend the courtesy, then ipahibalo mo. Hindi mo kailangan maglisensya. Permission is not required. Next is when you change what you believe in just to fit in or be accepted or be someone you're not. Like when you go to church just to please your parents, even if you don't have the same belief, you'll keep going with them every Sundays just because you don't want them to get mad or you want to please them. Or when you're an introvert just wanting to hang out at home, but you want to be a part of the cool club, so you end up partying and drinking. You changed who you are to fit a mold you want. Like when you're very outspoken to everyone except your family. You're so timid and you always walk on eggshells when you're with them. Why? Because they're afraid of your outspokenness, so they'll accept you when you don't speak. You try to put your voice in a box so they would accept you. When you are compliment needy, you crave the high of validity so much. Your actions depend on it. Nami man sapatos ko boards, limited edition, niyalin pa ni sa States. Ginpadala lang ni last week. So did you just buy so you can parade it and say it's expensive, that it's imported? Or did you buy it because you wanted it, regardless if anyone patronized you for it or not? Big difference. And the alter ego of compliment needy is paying insincere compliments. Take the famous Mean Girl scene, for example, like this one.
Oh my god, I love your skirt. Where did you get it?
It was my mom's in the 80s.
Vintage. So adorable.
Thanks.
That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen.
But this is not new to us. We see this often and maybe even catch ourselves doing this at some level too. One, because we gain alliance or they'll like us more when we pay people compliments. And the second is because we want to feel good about ourselves. We feel good when we make other people feel good. And the danger here is the intention. Do you actually mean it? Or are you just saying whatever you have to feel good about yourself? It could even be as simple as telling your friends, "Uy nami, balagin bake mo. Maskin isa lang ka kutsara ang ginkaon mo." You think you're being nice by saying that, but all it tells your friend is that you don't actually mean it. You know, just say it and be honest, or your actions will. Feedback is good. Your friend will thank you for that. Another way to recognize approval-seeking behavior is feeling worried, stressed, or upset when someone disagrees with you. And I think this is something we can all relate to. Think of those people who comment on you, whether on your public profile or those nosy family members. Yes, it's normal to feel something when people say bad things about you, but letting their opinions change the course of your actions is another story. Kung may game post ka nga picture kag may naghambal nga, "Uy, kalaw, ay si muda bala." People who have approval-seeking tendencies would immediately take it down. Or when people make comments about your artistic expression na, "Mas guwapa ka bala kung wala ka tattoo." O kung your nose ring makes you look like a cow. Di ano? You are the only person who will have to completely live with your decisions, so make them for yourself. You don't have to apologize or even explain why you are who you are. Which brings me to my next point, over-explaining. We do this because we feel like the more details we give, the better people will understand us, and we desperately need people to hear us. That we are willing to tell every piece of that story to convince them that we're right, or to convince them to be sympathetic of us. No, sis. You don't need their sympathy. You don't need to over-explain yourself. You don't need them to agree. Their opinion on your experience does not make it more or less valid. Make your point and move on. And the last one that you might be seeking approval is when you thrive in opposition. Ang tanan na lang kontrahon mo. Kung damo, go with the flow, damo man stand against the crowd. This is not to say that believing in something everyone else doesn't is wrong, or that the opposite is also wrong. This is a matter of understanding why you believe in what you believe in. When people started fighting for body positivity, there's that one friend that will post, "Hindi ka body positive, tamad ko lang guro." In short, they don't have relevant information. They just want to be different at the expense of others. If you were kinda hit with this video, then here are 3 things you can do to start unlearning approval-seeking behavior. Know the difference. Whatever it is that you're doing, know the intention behind it. Gusto mo gid man o kung gusto nila? May ginapatunayan ka lang? Hadlo ka akigan? When you know the difference of your intention, then you'll know how to take accountability for whatever comes next. If you're not 100% into the decision you make, you end up regretting those decisions and resenting the people who encouraged you to make those decisions in the first place. Practice independence. When you practice independence, you make room to know who you are for yourself. If you're tired of being told what to do, support yourself. Rephrase. We all have a lot of unlearning to do, and you can start by rephrasing. Your words hold weight, and the way you rephrase them dictates your position. Instead of saying, okay lang, malakad ko, rephrase it to, I'll be home late tonight. No need to wait for me. Instead of saying, oh sure, I'll do it now. To an inconvenient favor, try saying, no, I can't. I have other priorities right now. That way, you take their intentions into consideration without keeping yourself as a pawn. It's these small changes that will slowly free you from being an approval seeker. Growing up in a Filipino family has its ups and downs, and sometimes constantly seeking for approval becomes a habit. When you realize it's time to kick it to the curb, reflect on the intentions behind your actions. Why do you do what you do? And when you find that you're tied too tightly to something you don't agree with, start practicing independence and free yourself from those chains. Unlearning deeply rooted habits is a long process, but one that can always be started. So start with rephrasing your statements. Ask less, do more. This is the 30th episode of this makeup therapy series, and if you like content such as this, please hit the like, the share, comment your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye!